Dear students, in this module, we will be talking about that why people are deliberately engaged in producing the social change. What are their intended objectives, or in other words, what are the goals of social change? What do they intend to achieve through social change? Uh, why social change is necessary and why people are more interested in producing that social change. So, one of the important goals of social change is resistance. It refers to the actions intended to defend or protect the established everyday life from the outside oppression or outside introduction of new things, innovations, be it or inventions. So, as you know, that whenever something new comes to your society would always be looking at those things with a skeptical gaze. Why? Because they are not sure that how that invention or innovation is gonna affect not only your personal life, not only the structure of your society, but also the functions of your society, the interactional patterns, and particularly your belief system, your morality, your habits, your values. So, a society where people are safe from any outside oppression is considered more free. So, we as human beings tend to be uh, going through with our existing norms and values. And sometimes uh, it becomes very difficult to adopt those inventions, those innovations, be it in the form of ideas or be it in the form of material objects. And groups that have thrown off their oppressors resist any change that might restrain their freedom. So, freedom as a human value is considered much more important than whatever is coming to us, because at the beginning, when we are skeptical about these new inventions, we try or we tend to resist those, and in the process of these resistance, the ultimate goal is to maintain the social order, the existing social order of the society. So, resistance can be quite reactionary, and it can be from outside oppression as one of the important goals of social change. And then another important goal can be liberation or a sort of empowerment. When it is the tendency of human beings that if they are not satisfied with their existing social conditions, they tend to either they tend to resist or they tend to proceed for the social change by practically participating in different social movements. So actions to overcome the ongoing traditional oppression might be because of, for example, if the female are facing constantly facing the domestic violence, they might tend to be interested in a kind of social movement that could bring a positive social change. And similarly, if people feel that the current political regime is not um, protecting their rights and it is not working in favor of their rights, so they might come into the streets for agitation and overthrow of the current government in order to bring the desired change, the way they feel that we would be much more empowered if that current or existing regime would be thrown out. So, a society is more just if all people in the society can obtain the freedom. So, the goal is that we should have much more choices to not only to spend our lives but to express our views. So, here is a symbolic reflection or representation of the way people are getting liberty out of the chains which are bounding them to not to act the way they want to. And then democratization, especially in the modern world, democracy is considered a very uh, uh, a much better form of political regime as compared to the other forms of government. And it refers to the actions that aim to spread the decision making power broadly to everyone affected by those decisions. So it means that the power should be dissolved and it should be equally available to the everyone who is involved as a potential stakeholder. So decisions should be based on the democratic values, and for that, to achieve that, people tend to produce the movements which can bring the social change. And provision of decision making authorities to all the people in society is one of the goals of social change. So here you would see that there in the West, particularly uh, during the 20th century, there were continuously the movements for the right to vote for females, for the women, and finally they got successful after the mid 20th century. And right now we are observing that almost every society has given the right to vote to the female. Humanization uh, refers to the actions that society will defend to, or protect the rights of everyone in the society. It means that human beings or human life is much more important, considered much more sacred as compared to the other amenities of life or other aspects of our social life. So, goal of humanization is to consider everyone with the mutual respect. So it refers to the actions that are directed to the protection of the rights of the lowest segments of society and to those who cannot protect their rights themselves. So, the marginalized people who are not being able to protect their own rights in comparison to those who are in power are, and their rights are being protected through these human rights movements. And for that, we need to have we need to bring deliberate efforts which could focus on the provision of these rights to such destituted people, uh, not only uh, in a particular historical time but in the long run as well. And then we have the social equilibrium. uh, the ultimate goal of every society is to produce the peace and harmony in the society, which is one of the most important goals. Like you see, the law enforcement agencies are constantly being engaged in order to uh, catch the culprits, but also to restore the social order in the society, to reduce the crime, and to reduce the antisocial behavior so that the people could live and engage in the meaningful and positive social interaction. The social equilibrium, to take it formally, refers to the process in which each subsystem will adjust to the change in other subsystems and will continue to do so until the state of equilibrium is retained. And social equilibrium is one of the important goals of social change, and change in one aspect of society requires the change in other part of society. So if you have some tension in the, for example, at the political institution, that would ultimately have an effect on all the social institutions of your society. It means that social equilibrium is one of the important desired goals of social change. Here you can observe that how an individual, if he is being placed in the center, is not only dependent but also interdependent on the positions of other individuals in the whole social structure.